One of today's biggest rising issues is global warming. It is the result of many factors, though primarily carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide emissions come from several sources, though the largest one is the burning of fossil fuels. Global warming has many negative effects, including flooding, forest fires, and melting glaciers.
Fossil fuels also have many different side effects on humans caused by the emissions created by burning fossil fuels, including pneumonia, bronchitis, asthma attacks, and in severe cases, premature deaths. And many of these diseases can be found in animals exposed to fossil fuels for extended periods of time. Also, if the contaminants in the air get into the soil, plant life begins to die out as well. Are we willing to risk the safety of our planet for an unreliable energy source?
The use of fossil fuels can cost as much as $147 per megawatt per hour. While being on the expensive side, they are also unreliable and inconsistent, because once a source is drained, it can be some time before another is found. Solar and wind-powered energy is unreliable as well, because solar panels are unable to produce energy if there isn't a constant supply of sunlight, and wind is unreliable or not blowing at a significant enough rate.
Our solution to all these issues is the use of nuclear power as our main power source, rather than fossil fuels. Uranium, the main fuel source used in nuclear reactors, isn't burned. This means that nuclear power doesn't release any emissions, so it has many fewer environmental risks than fossil fuels.
Fossil fuels are rapidly running out and therefore increasing the cost. By using nuclear power, energy can be attained for almost 100 years from just one plant. Nuclear energy from uranium or plutonium, both in abundance, would be easily accessible and reliable, since other sources are hard to find or only work under specific circumstances.
If we begin to use nuclear energy over fossil fuels, the overall detrimental health effects on humans, plants, and animals caused by the burning of fossil fuels would decrease greatly, as well as the effect it holds on the global climate and the state of the Earth as we know it.
The first benefit of nuclear power is that, unlike fossil fuels, it doesn't release any emissions. Across their lifetimes, the time period including construction, operation, and decommission, nuclear power plants emit less carbon dioxide than solar power and about the same amount as wind and hydroelectric power. On the other hand, when just 1 ton of coal is burned, it releases nearly 7 tons of emissions. These include carbon dioxide, the main cause of global warming, sulfur dioxide, a large cause of acid rain, and carbon monoxide, which is poisonous to both humans and animals. Fossil fuels are also very damaging to the environment when they are being collected. The effects of uranium mining, on the other hand, are much less detrimental to the environment. Many environmentalists complain that nuclear power and uranium mining create nuclear pollutants. While this is true, coal mining also creates nuclear pollutants. Coal mines are also more likely to collapse than uranium mines because coal is generally found in a weaker rock than uranium is. Finally, because coal is flammable, coal mines can catch fire, which releases all their emissions without even letting us use their energy. Since uranium isn't flammable, this isn't an issue at uranium mines.
And although the effects of the coal mining is bad, the side effects found in humans is even worse. In Nigeria, many children under the age of 5 are being placed at severe risk of respiratory disease due to high levels of indoor pollution in the cities, with 69% of all households burning fossil fuels as their primary fuel source, leading to the death of many young children due to long-term exposure of toxic emissions. However, Nigeria is not the only country that is risking the safety of the population for power. In China, the pollution is so bad that upon leaving the house, any one citizen must put on a mask to prevent fine particles from reaching their lungs and polluting their bodies. And these effects are not a recent occurrence. Harmful effects were discovered in the early 1800s, when fossil fuels were burnt as a fuel source, and have only gotten worse as time goes on. As displayed by this graph, the use of fossil fuels has gone up approximately 36 million tons of oil equivalent in the past 22 years, and this has increased steadily with the aftermath of exposure to emissions from fossil fuels.
Nuclear energy costs an average of $96 per megawatt per hour after the plants have been built, which is comparable to the much higher cost of fossil fuels mentioned before, at an average cost of $147 per megawatt per hour. Nuclear energy is more expensive than wind energy, which runs at $80 per megawatt per hour, but it works more efficiently and lasts longer. Many nuclear plants have already been built but have been shut down or are running at low production rates. If all of them work to their full capacity, then the cost would be minimal and energy could be supplied to entire countries for many years. In the United States, there are a total of 104 reactors, but they only supply the country with roughly 20% of its total energy. This percentage could be changed into 60% in the next 15 years, 80% in the next 25, and possibly 100% in the next 35 years, with the appropriate measures taken. By that point, fossil fuels will be in very small amounts since the rest of the world is using them, and most countries will be competing for energy. However, a country utilizing its nuclear reactors would be ahead of the game. Using these reactors would have a minimal cost compared to that of a plant being built, with just the fees for the used elements and waste disposal. In 2009, the Department of Energy gave a budget of $67 million for the advancement of nuclear energy research. This is more than enough to get the current nuclear plants running at a higher efficiency rate.
Although the use of nuclear energy comes with many upsides, there is one primary and very dangerous risk of using nuclear energy, and that is the risk of failure of structure or inhuman actions regarding a nuclear plant. Take, for example, the events that occurred in Chernobyl, where workers did not know what to do when a fire broke out in one of their reactors. This event struck fear into the hearts of those involved and many around the world regarding the use of nuclear energy, and although our technology has advanced greatly over the past 20 years, infrastructural failure is still a very real threat.
Nuclear power's other main downfall is that it produces nuclear waste. Nuclear waste, despite being safe when stored properly, can leak from its storage containers. When it leaks, nuclear waste can poison water supplies and remains radioactive for thousands of years. Its radioactivity can be a cause of issues such as cancer.
Nuclear energy's waste requires the proper disposal since it is toxic. Waste disposal costs come in three parts: the decommissioning cost, the disposal cost for low-level radioactive waste, and the disposal cost for used fuel to operate the plant. All of these fees add up to slightly over $197 million. Additionally, if a new plant were to be built, it would cost roughly $10 billion. This is why it is crucial to implement already existing nuclear plants. These deterring qualities are of little significance when the pollution of fossil fuels is taken into account.